Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have the first speaker standing here, ready as always, next to me. This is Professor Marko Järvenpää, and I have the honor of introducing him. We go back a long time, because I can still remember Marko as a PhD student, and now he is a dean. He crossed to the dark side. So when he was a PhD student, I can tell you one thing, he didn't change. So it's still the same Marko, okay? So to introduce first, Marko is a professor, I think, in 2 institutions, in Vaasa and in Jyväskylä. He also, like I said, is a dean since 2022. Yep. Yeah. So, and this is important because deans are the ones in charge of change. And of course, ENROAC is all about change. So I hope, Marko, you take this very serious because we are watching. Okay, Marko has a very keen interest in digitalization as a research topic, as many of us have. I think sustainability has been replaced by AI now recently. He also has a very active interest in qualitative research, which I think also many of us share that interest. And he did a lot of work on the role of the controller and the CFO in companies, which is changing again in this post-COVID era, AI era. So all sorts of relevant things, or to use a typical dean word, impactful. Okay. He also has an important thing which I like to stress because I have been around for 30 years in academia. Marko stands out for a very special reason. He's a team builder. Academics are very good at producing. We need to fulfill with the KPIs, I mean, publish or perish. But Marko is a team builder. Where he is, he always has a group of people around him, and the atmosphere in that group of people is always good. It's always fun. So you actually drink beer for the sake of science with Marko. So this is something which we should all look forward to, and not just optimization of individual careers. So Marko is a team builder, and I hope he can infect many people with that mentality. I think this is really important. The third thing I can say about Marko, and you have observed this now, he smiles continuously. And this is not something that you see very often in academia, and if you allow me to say, with Finnish people. So the smiles are infectious. Now I like in closing to make sure that the smile stays here, because I'm going to cite a Finnish paper by Marko. And I do it in Finnish. Arvot sortitysitimatereiden autentitaminen joshottametteiden halunnussa suureissa asusutuminalasessa organisaatioissa. 2018. What was that about?
That was something about values and performance measurement systems.
Okay. Yeah. How bad did I murder the Finnish language here?
Well, it was quite uneasy to follow, but luckily you showed me the text beforehand. Otherwise, it has been completely impossible. But it was a very good try, as always.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, here why he has illustrated the team building and the smiles. Thank you for your attention, and the floor is now to Marko.
Thank you, Hanno, my friend, and also to other friends. Really great to be here. And as Hanno said, he has known me since PhD student, so nowadays, and I have served now as a dean almost 4 years, and it's really the dark side, like Hanno said, and there is plenty of other things. But luckily, I can still do some research, and these are really the moments of joy when I can be with my old friends and discuss about the teaching and research in accounting, particularly management accounting, in my case. And yes, I have chosen a quite wide topic. I saw Kari Lukka in the corridor, and he said that he's really, really waiting what I'm going to say, because it's a wide topic. Management accountants in a long and something about the Beatles, long and winding road from being counters. We are strategic business partners in the twin transition, And my speech is here based on my personal experience in a lifelong research journey. So that's what you can expect. We have 3 quarters about time, so I have plenty of slides, as Kari knows that I typically have plenty of slides, but no worry, I can try to skip some of them, but let's see how it works. Yeah, but now, like Hanno said, we should first go back to more than 30 years. In 1994, there was one young rookie, PhD student in Turku School of Economics and Business Administration. And yes, we were there, and it was such a fascinating era, my friends. We think there were everything new and interesting. There was this time that there was Anthony Hopwood writing about archaeology of management accounting research, speaking about to go into organizations where management accounting is operating, saying there ain't no simple solutions. We have to dig deeper. And of course some other influential people there like Fai-Fong Chua on research methodology, alternative research approaches, Bob Scapens on case study research, Kasanen, Lukka and Siitonen on the relevance of management accounting research, speaking constructive research approach then. And then in Turku we also have a Professor Pekka Pihlanto, who has many works on human-centric research and qualitative approach. And we really have a strong, Kari for example, can recall that time. We have a strong spirit in Turku to seriously conduct this type of research. Of course, at the very same time, there was this relevance lost discussion was very new. Johnson and Kaplan, relevance lost, and then introduced activity-based costing, balanced scorecard, and this kind of issues. So I can say that my generation, there are many people here in this list, we can call, and I have used this word, we were riders for the relevance lost, partly, more or less. There were some variations regarding of the who we are speaking, but my generation in Finland, Teemu Malmi, Markus Granlund, Juhani Vaivio, Janne Järvinen, Jukka Pellinen sitting there, Petri Suomala, Timo Hyvönen, Jari Huikku, who sent a message that he's coming a bit late, coming here, Esa Puolamäki, Vesa Partanen, and several others. Sorry if some of your name was mentioned here. I just quickly write those names who started this management accounting research. Most of them qualitative, some, of course, some quantitative. And I think, retrospectively speaking, my starting combination was kind of mix of this kind of relevance lost, not just in management accounting, but also research, and then this interpretative, qualitative case research. And because I'm here, I have an honor to be here, one keynote speaker with Kari Lukka and Paula Quattrone. I took one word from both of their notable publications and achievement. I think this relevance somehow in my research career from Kari, and then there was Paula's famous article about the accounting change as a drift, and I also retrospectively can consider my research on management accounting. It's also kind of a drift, as you will see. Yeah. So I started to study these intertwined issues regarding the role of management accountants and then the strategic aspects of management accounting, which was then called Strategic Management Accounting, SMA. And it was a suggestion by Kari Lukka, 22nd of May, 94, so it's 31 years and a few days. And then I saw the light. Before that, I was kind of a financial accounting guy thinking aspects of taxation and depreciation and things like that. But Kari gave me a couple of articles and Marko, come on, read this and come back. Yeah, and at the time there were some early writings about more active role of management accountants. Expressed also in some articles and some books, and then at the same time about was the strategic management agenda like Bromwich and Bimani, strategic cost management. Then when I start to make the theoretical part of my research, there came some literature reviews like Roslender, Lord, and authors like that. And later on Nixon and Burns, and they made also some surveys like Chris Gilding and my good friend Simon Kadets and Gilding another paper. And also this is of course, even I started that about the research and the articles at the same time, the practice. It was of course the practice which have started to move towards these more strategic aspects of accounting and the new roles of management accountants. By company practices and consultative agenda, there was like this Finanzmeister book of Kendall and Sheridan. Of course, there were some early works of Trevor Hopper, and then a bit later Jan Moritz and 5 aspects of accounting department's work and things like that. Friedman a line about the activity-based costing and roles of management accountants. And then, of course, Granlund and Lukka published 2 very seminal papers focusing directly about management accountants' role and role changes. And this is, for example, this figure, very familiar to perhaps most of you, was in another of those papers, is how the roles of management accountants can develop and expand, and they can take a wider role. Very, very, very seminal articles, and that's kind of, I don't have to explain this to you because you know all the stuff about that. And then, yes, what we consider as an accountant as those times, it didn't came out of nothing. There was these images of accountants, and I think very good one from this early years of the, the Ghostbusters. There was this nerd guy who is Tully, who later he was the neighbor of Sigourney Weaver, who was the main female character, and he came to his guy was looking like exactly like me at that days, and Sigourney asked something from him, and I said, I'm accountant. Yeah. So that's kind of an image where we started, and yes, of course there were some other kind of cases around. I digged up one early case, which was it was the Al Capone's famous case in court. He was a murderer, he was a smuggler of alcohol, but they didn't got him because of murder or smuggling, but because of tax evasion and because his accountant betrayed him. It was this Easy Eddie O'Hare, who was his famous accountant, whose son was, after that, he was famous air pilot during Second World War. It was not a nice story to the end, because it was this 31 when this Eddie O'Hare was in the courtroom, and then it was in 39 he was actually killed. He was gunned, shot in his car. And of course there was this forensic accountant from the Treasury Department, Frank Wilson. So there was some archetype of sleeky accountant, and then this forensic, the cup type of accountant. And of course there were some famous watchdog roles, like in the first, Pierce Brosnan Bond, the female M, in her first premiere in Bond. Many of you perhaps can recall how she said that, you think I'm an accountant, a bean counter, more interested in my numbers than your instinct. So kind of bean counters versus action heroes, the typical saga. Of course, there were some examples of business partnering. One of the most famous was in the second Bond of Timothy Dalton, The License to Kill, where there was an accountant who was trying to make some business partnering and sparring to the Frank Sanchez, who was the Colombian mafia boss. Bond was almost ruined the businesses of this. The business was in serious decline because of Bond, and then the accountant made some business partnering, and then the mafia boss said, his parrot, that what you are going to do? And Sanchez says, I guess it's time to start cutting overheads. And this, of course, very true for many accounting development, because we are overheads and we can't get the money so much that we sometimes would like to have. Of course, like always, also the management accountant's role change is adrift. Part of is true, part of is mythology and narratives and stories, but of course also in the movies, like you know, it has become partly true, what we expected 30 years ago. So I made my first study in then very rapidly developing Nokia communication. I met the vice president of strategic planning, Mikko Kosonen, who was also a doctor and who also has been a business controller, and we agreed a case study on Nokia. And I made my licentiate thesis on that. At that time we made practically two dissertations, licentiate thesis and then doctoral thesis. So the Nokia learnings, even though they were perhaps one of the very best at Finland those times, I didn't find much strategic management there. They had some activity-based costing, they have some performance measures, balanced scorecard types. They had these values also included in this performance measurement system. But it was, after all, at the end of the day, not so strategic. But they were making important forecasting here and there. They participate, for example, key account teams in customer surveys, and then some of them were located in the research and development units of the company. I also tried to use some theories to explain these issues, combined contingency theory and new institutional theory. Very desperate, but I tried. But regarding the management accountants, there was actually much more. I really observed a very strong development. In Finland, we typically are talking about the business controllers. There were actions like job rotation, speaking of new roles, training, skills, competencies, and cooperations with business unit managers and key account management teams and RDI, as I said. But of course, I also found a lot of doubts, barriers, struggles, competence gaps, and so on. And this was about the same time that Kari and Markus published those two articles. And I went on further analyzing these roles in the Mintzberg management job framework and Pihlanto's managerial types and things like that. And I really found a lot to study in management accountants' roles. Perhaps if I put in the nutshell one key point of my research then was kind of a survival triangle for management accountants that so very important are that so kind of basic accounting systems are running well. It's a necessary condition. Reliability of that, it's very, very important for the role. It advances the image and authority and also may advance the management accounting innovation, adaptation. Fast reporting was already then very, very important. saves time, improves the relevance, you are reporting fast. Then there was the strategic management accounting innovations and other innovations, and then they were in a kind of a triangle with this role. So these are those basic tools and more innovative tools, and then this role, how this SMA innovations may advance the development of the role, and also these basic systems and the reliability and being fast were very, very important already then. Then I continue studying the roles and competencies and try to also analyze even the personalities of management accountants. This was in the Finnish Journal of Business Economics. This was a one study early study dealing with the competencies of accountants. And then I get completed my PhD, which was about business orientation of management accountants as a cultural change, a comparative case study. This was my first escape. I went to University of Applied Science, which I remember. I remember Hanno made some funny jokes about my escape then, and of course Kari was that this guy is going to escape, and he reacted immediately and arranged funding from the Academy of Finland. So I got my PhD completed because of that one year funding. Well, I continued the study of these management accountant roles. It was a very long book, as some of you can recall. I used some part of his accounting change model. I analyzed the cultural change interventions, aspects of firms' accounting cultures, try to figure a model for cultural change, and also used institutional theory, institutional pillars like the legitimacy of not organization but accounting organization. And I would of course have to point out some how influential the academic discussion is, that the discussion with peers and colleagues and seniors. I recall, for example, great conversations with Anthony Hopwood, Michael Bromwich, Bob Scapens, Jan Mauritsen, Hanna Roberts, Mike Shields, of course Kari Lukka, and colleague PhD candidates Juhani Vaivio, Markus Granlund, Teemu Malmi, Jukka Pellinen, Lili Keen, and many others. Really, really important. Both the collegial help and the help of the seniors. I suggest warmly both. Then I get an article in European Accounting Review, which was titled, it focused one part of the PhD, and it was titled A Case Study on Making Business Partners, a case study on how management accounting culture was changed. And in this paper, I focused on these cultural change interventions, structural intervention systems, new innovations, human research management, but also informal part like role modeling, storytelling, narratives about heroic accountants in the UK unit or wherever. And that was one end of line in this research project. In this research there were, and on my PhD there were 3 large Finnish companies involved as a case sites. Then another paper focused on the institutional pillars. It was a new institutional sociology, and the Scott books was one kind of an idea machine for that, and there was kind of these economic competitive forces and institutional forces, and their really kind of point was I used 2 cases in this paper, and it was about, for example, the different expectations set on the management accountants and how it affects the development of the role and the system. Okay, then that was the dissertation part, almost that, and then I felt that all done. Now I am released. There is nothing to see. It's perhaps completely dead area. We know already everything now about management accountants' role, and it's end of the history probably. How wrong I was. I made those articles. Then there was a next big change. I went to the University of Jyväskylä as a colleague to Jukka Pellinen and Antti Rautiainen and nowadays also Annina Kinnunen and Kari Sippala being there, and maybe some others. And I focused many other issues like PMS and identity construction, management control and performance measurement of networks. That was very big project. Sitra and Tekes were funding us to build network performance measurement systems. We studied with Jukka shared service centers, ERP implementation again with Jukka and Henri Teittinen, cost consciousness with Petri Suomala and later also Antti Rautiainen became part of the second paper of that issues, and institutional logics and PMS with Antti Rautiainen, PMS development and stakeholders versus research dependency theories with Aapo Länsiluoto and Kip Krumweed, strategy and accounting as a practice, and then partly bit coming back business intelligence and data analysis. There was something new lurking around the corner there, early signs some years earlier. Perhaps the business intelligence was kind of the first early sign. So and we made some publications about this middle age era. I don't read this. This was the publications about those projects, and there was these issues, these topics, bit different. Some of those theories and ideas, like this institutional logic, and some ideas used then later. But yes, at that time there was something important coming more and more, and one of my biggest new start in the research after this first set of management accounting research was sustainability, and we started to study 10 with Aapo Länsiluoto environmental performance systems, using this accounting change model, using institutional theories and institutional logic, and also more practice oriented, like greening the balance scorecard, things like that. But this was my kind of an early start to this one. We published some 5 or 6 journal articles about this environmental performance measurement, and also this digitalization, as you know, came there. For us, it was the first start was about business intelligence, somehow related to this kind of new technology. And then nowadays, like I'm coming back a bit later, we are talking about the twin transition, how we would have and should have and could have a sustainability future with help of wise use of also digitalization, and accountants also have some part of that. When I observed these papers, which are going to be presented here, if we drop the digitalization-based papers and sustainability-based papers, how many papers there are left? Only few. Only few. And they can be, of course, combined. Yes, there was kind of then a bit kind of new zeitgeist, something new, something old, something borrowed. And also I had to go back to the ring. I took few year retirement of studying management accountants, but there were again few accidents. There was this drift element there. I did not manage to get rid of this management accountant topic, even I tried. In Paris conference we started, there was accidentally my old friend Jani Taipalemäki, who's also a friend of Markus Granlund, started to discuss that business intelligence, there is some digitalization issue, something, but perhaps we start to study business intelligence and management accountants. Also Jari Huikku and Timo Hyvönen were in the same conference, and we were in some terrace, and they were also started a bit similar type of paper, which they managed to publish it. Me and Markus and Jani, our paper is still in let's say in drawing board, but we started it. Then we made a recruitment of management accountants study with Lauri Lepistö, Ida Tuuri, and Eeva-Mari Ihantola, which also was a brief discussion in the cocktail in EAA Maastricht. It was in the island there was a building where the Maastricht Treaty was signed, that we could have some good material for that. Then Lukas Koretsky and Erik Strauss started a book of management accountants, and I get also involved, and together with Kari Lukka we started to write a paper for that. And I also got lucky that I received two very promising PhD students, Virpi Alaheikkilä and Martina Kurki, who were interested in studying management accountants' role changes. Both were business controllers or CFOs of big technology companies, ladies almost my age, bit advanced, but very inspired about these issues. And also I got this background of studying sustainability and early aspects of digitalization, and used some of those theories like institutional theories. And also remarkably, the management accountant's role changes has not gone everywhere. It was already, it's now 1:45, but I take a privilege because there was a 3/4 lecture and we started 3/4 late, so is it okay if I continue? I use also the last 15 minutes here. It was there, pretty much similar elements, but of course something new. And there came new researchers, new theories, new insights also in the research side. There is no point to read this. I have listed some 10 new articles which again inspired me, but there were guys, for example, like Koretsky and Strauss and Järvinen and Pellinen and many others who have published management accountants' role research with different empirical material, different theories, and the research went on, digging always deeper, finding new interesting issues, putting on the previous doctrine. And I again came then back. First one probably was this recruitment research with Lauri and Eeva-Mari and Ida. We analyzed this recruitment advertisement, and then something about these real recruitment processes, and get some finding how those companies were trying to recruit very active business partner type of people, but on the other hand they provided very conventional tasks for them. So they expected change agents, but provide budgeting and reporting and very basic issues. Then with Henri Teittinen and Erno Nykänen, we got the first publication about the business intelligence in decision making, and find something. It was quite narrow empirical material about that. Then, as I said, then was this book chapter with Kari Lukka in Lukas and Erik's book, The Role of Management Accounting, Local Variations and Global Influences. And together with Kari, we decided to write an article which I think also has some influence to my presentation today, that we analyzed the early kind of an basic research and the results of the seminal management accounting role papers, and then analyzed how the colleague researchers with profound empirical analysis and employment of useful new theories, method theories, the academic discourse has provided a significant new advances on the role transition of management accountants, and that's kind of one point of departure also from my today's presentation, a bit same spirit. Then I have 20 years of research with Juhani Vaivio. This was also started in EAA Congress in Athens over the beer in Hilton Lobby Bar. The conference in Athens, if there were someone there, it was really huge Hilton hotel, and then we I don't know why, because it was accounting conference, but we get a bit bored and went to bar and get an idea that we are going to make a paper about accounting in identity regulation in Finnish car inspection company, and it was quite a desperate project. It took 20 years. Also we escaped it many times, but always came back. And then finally we get a great idea. We asked Antti Rautiainen here in our audience that we really need a third author who perhaps can save old cheesers, and he did it. He made it, and we got that published. But that is also kind of this personal journey. This is not so much about management accountants, but here I get this identity knowledge and identity theories, which now I'm using quite much with my colleagues. And then another shot to the heart was that nowadays in my team I have researchers who are oriented in AI and machine learning, not only using these kind of as a focus of the research, how it is changing management accountants' job, but also using language models and analyzing huge, very large empirical material, which we can load from here and there. And it's kind of both the material, because it's now digitalized, and we can gather it, and we got these methods. We have really kind of a new world, and we recognize that in some occasions we can combine this kind of even a big data and language models and this machine learning analysis and qualitative research, which was quite new. We even claim here that it can provide tools for interventionist research. The reviewer somehow accepted also that one. And then we really get kind of this new start, and with Toni Mättö and Antti Rautiainen here, Chahirul Houk, we studied controllers' role in managerial sense making and information trust building in business intelligence environment. So there was a big Finnish company who has implemented new business intelligence systems, and it's a food production company, so they really have to know pretty much about the customers and what shops are selling and so on. They really have a huge amount of data. So this was one of these earliest now, and it was kind of focusing on the business intelligence. Then not just food producers and shops, retailers are interested in this kind of big data. The banks are also, financial institutions are having great amount of data, and we have had a very big study in a Finnish bank OP group where we have over 300 interviews, for example, and with Rautiainen and Auvinen and Sajasalo and Bob Scapens, we studied the digitalization and its impacts of management accountants' role identity, and we find that they have this role identity must be more fluid in this kind of very demanding surroundings and context in modern bank. And then there was one study we were using. It was with Virpi Alaheikkilä, her dissertation. It was about the management accountant's image, role, and identity. And we used one big company's internal job advertisement, and then about 31 interviews. And we, for example, find that this employer branding may be part of these big expectations for roles, that they are saying they like to have this position very attractive, and then they put kind of big expectations there in this job advertisement, and it may be one reason for misalignment and discrepancy between perceptions of employers, then expectations of operational managers, and finally the management accountant's identity. Also, we find some gender issues which we published in the next paper. This stemmed from the empirical material that there are also some gender issues here, that even in the most modern kind of, and modern is perhaps a good word, but the contemporary expectations for management accountants, even there are some emphasis on the caring and social skills and softer issues. However, there is kind of an hegemonic masculinity in laden in these positions and expectations, which emphasize the business performance and the maximizations of the self. And Virpi is also continuing this research with Elina Haapamäki with some other empirical material. This was also very important for me and very new aspect to my research. And then the Martina Kurki, another PhD student, there we studied how to engage management accountants in corporate sustainability using psychological ownership theories, suggest the development of the individual level engagement of sustainability which is required, and try to help to understand the roots to how a management accountants can feel the psychological ownership on the sustainability issue, not just financial but also sustainable issues. Again, at the same time, elsewhere, discussion and theorization went on. A new brave set of articles, also not reading them through, Koretsky and Fischer, Rautiainen, Mättö, Sippola and Pellinen, Strauss, Tessier, Väisänen, and so on. using even deeper insight of professional identity, identity work, micro-foundations, studying, using paradox perspective, identity crisis, and also, of course, digital transformation. This is just a snapshot. There are, of course, more articles. And then, also inspired by these studies, we also continue with my team studying micro-foundations of institutional work, protective identity work, and identity fluidity, using paradox theories to understand emotional challenges, budgeting for resilience in digitalization era, and how about management accountants. And here in this conference, multiple accountabilities and roles after organizational change, performing performance management with Annina and Antti, but there is a presentation tomorrow about that, and so on. Digitalization, identity work, micro-foundations, paradox theory, and also this usage of AI, ML-based theories. And there is still some work, but these are ongoing works, no more about this. But about this twin, coming back to this twin green and digital transition, for example, with Antti, we have made from Academy of Finland a project application where we with just kind of an example about ideas to study twin green and digital transition. And then in the end, a few words about trying to understand the field. And one way perhaps is that we can understand how these accounting innovations going to the northwest from activity-based costing via BSE, ERP to now we have a big data and analytics, AI, ML, and forecasts. Then in other axle we have these themes like roles, tasks, competencies, identities, images, hybrids, profession struggles, whatever they're developing the discussion. Then we have a different method theories, contingencies, accounting change models, different institutional theories, institutional work, micro-foundations, paradox theory, gender theories. And we can see that how this discussion is really expanded during 30 long years. Maybe another attempt is try to put this in this level that we have these method theories from contingency theories to ANT, structuration theories, institutional theories. Then we have really these kind of contingencies, there's different strategies, sustainability issues, and then we have these innovations here. Then we have this discussion on management accountants, and here we have these roles, tasks, competencies, images, identities, level, and whatever in the future. And then there are some consequences here. A role may change, but perhaps not in a way we thought. And there may be surprises, but just research can explore. And finally, I come back to this almost 30 years old figure, how we perhaps also again can, if we put it in a very nutshell and simplify these agendas, that we have these digital opportunities and challenges, we have these sustainable challenges, of course, opportunities for some people. We have these innovations, now they are a bit different, AA, ML, ESG, performance measures, we have predictive analysis, prescriptive analysis, so on. We have this AIS, we have this digitalization of accounting, robot process automation, we have outsourced accounting systems as service. Still, they have to be fast nowadays, real time, they have to be reliable. And we have these management accountants, the different tasks, roles, competencies, identities, images, hybrids. We have these method theories, how we try to understand like institutional theories, and then we can of course come back and contribute to the domain theories in these areas of accounting, information systems, or roles of accounting. The basic themes are actually surprisingly similar, but of course during 30 years the innovations are different, and the challenges are always, we management accountants, they develop a lot, hugely, but the challenges are developing and going harder and harder, so it's kind of an eternal chase for management accountants for the relevance, providing of course opportunity for us as a researcher. And I think, as my last slide, that which I start, it was such a fascinating era, and I think it's now, at the moment, it's such a fascinating era 2.0, where management accountants and accounting scholars together are perhaps co-creating the twin transition, and also in the movies we have this accountant too. So at the same time, supporting us, being management accountants as action heroes, and we researchers studying what on earth those action heroes in those organizations are doing. Thank you, guys.